Marketplace with Charles on an 11-day tour of the Holy Land. Take the route Israel traveled to the Promised Land, cross over the Red Sea, and float on the Dead Seas, the lowest point on earth with amazing healing properties. Experience the vibe of Jericho and cruise on the Sea of Galilee to Capernaum, the hometown of Jesus. Visit the pools of Bethesda, Nazareth, Bethlehem, and many more. Walk where Jesus walked and see the Bible come alive. If beautiful memories and an enriched spirit is what you are looking for, then join us in taking Jesus to the marketplace. For more information, call us on +27 72 123 0078 or email israel@artofskincare.co.za.
Welcome to Marketplace with Charles, where dreams are turned into reality. Marketplace is brought to you by Art of Skincare, the company that brings out the beauty in you, as well as Kuwisa Lodge, situated in the heart of Mabalingwe Nature Reserve. I am Charles Ngobeni. On Marketplace, we empower and equip you with tools that you need to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. Each week, we bring you insight from experts in different fields of business, from both women and men of faith. On today's program, we meet a financial wellness coach. Not only that, she's also an author. Financial soundness is a concept that speaks not only to people who are experiencing a lack of finance or are unemployed, but also to those who are well supplied. It is not a matter of whether one has the money, but it is your relationship with the money. The relationship with your money will determine how you become friend with this money or an enemy. My guest today will do her level best to try to elaborate and educate us when it comes to these money issues. Help me welcome Ms. Phelisa from your home, your hotel room, or wherever you may be watching this episode from. Phelisa, welcome to Marketplace with Charles.
Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you for inviting me. Hello to everyone and the viewers at home.
I am grateful to have you. And together, I want to believe we are going to set the people free when it comes to money issues. Because people, they say money makes the world go round. And when we grew up, we were taught that money is evil. Yet, the same people who taught us that money is evil, they collected the same money, but they never call it money. They call it tithes and offerings. So I hope today we'll be able to set the people free.
Yes, we should. We should be able by the time we're done.
Before we start, do you mind to tell people about your business?
Thank you so much. I'm Phelisa Mafunda. I'm a financial wellness coach. I help people mindfully manage their personal finances. I also help them with managing their debt. I look for ways on how they can pay their debt faster. I've also written a book, Healing the Wounds of Debt, that gives you ways on how you can pay debt faster, how you can cultivate and get out of debt, and look for ways that can trap you when you're thinking you're trying to get out of debt, but they are not solutions. They are offered to you as solutions. We also help you to identify those. There's also the psychological issues that are underlined in the book. So the book is just basically helping people how they can heal their psychological wounds and their emotional wounds. Like you said, from the beginning when we were growing up, we were told money was evil. So it basically helps you look at money in a different way.
I hope it's a good material to read.
It is. It's a very good one. Short, nice, and straight to the point. And it's got solutions and tools. It's not just telling you that you are in a problem, but it also gives you on identifying your problems and the ways on how you can actually solve this problem.
Will your book be able to be read and understood by an ordinary person? Because a lot of financial books, they're great, but the language which is there, some of them, even myself, I don't even understand it.
You know, Charles, when I was writing this book, I had exactly that in mind. I wanted to use the simplest English because I wanted to touch masses and a lot of people to read it. I've got a banking experience. I used to work in the bank, and I used to see ordinary South Africans, normal people who are just, you know, the people that we classify them as middle class. They would go there and be stuck and not understanding how to read a contract, just a simple contract, you know. A person comes and didn't understand the term. So when I was writing this book, I wanted to use the simplest English possible so that even if you just have a basic understanding of English, you are able to get something out of this. You know, I use the simple terms, financial terms, just to explain and make sure that a person who reads it gets a clear understanding.
But tell me, Phelisa, why do you feel so strong about getting out of debt to an extent that you wrote a book?
With the banking experience, I have seen that when we talk wellness, the one thing that affects the overall wellness is lack of finances, and debt is one of the most depressing things you can come across with around the world, if I'm not mistaken. But in South Africa, a lot of people are trapped in debt, and on paydays, you would see people very much stressed because of the debit orders that has taken their account. A person goes to work for like 29 days, and then on day 30, when they're supposed to celebrate their salaries, it's taken away by debit orders because a person is owing this and that and that, and they left with nothing. And at the end of the day, they go back again, you know, to debt. So I felt that there is a gap of educating people about debt, to have a clear understanding what actually debt does to the society, what it does to the families. You know, you work for the rest of your life and then you get your pension payout only to pay out debt. You know, you're not even celebrating the money that you were working for the rest of your life. So I have seen people paying off debt using their pension payouts. And I remember there was a lady, the one who actually drove me to thinking, you know what, there is a gap. She had a pension payout, and after paying out everything, she was left with a mere 100,000 rand, and you could see the frustration in her head, and she was actually saying to me, yo, I think I should go back, you know, to work. I still can work for 5 more years. She was 60. I feel if we can be educated, if people can be educated, they will be able to say, you know what, by the time I get to this age, I want to be debt free, so that when I go to pension, I don't have debt. I'm enjoying my pension money. It's actually what it's really called retirement. I get to retire as a person debt free, you know. So that's why I felt so strong that our people are not educated, are not financially educated, and they are not aware that it is possible to be debt-free. Stress is one of the things that drives more diseases that we have. You know, when you are stressed, you find a person, they've got high blood pressure, they've got cancer, they've got a lot of things. So yes, you can say it is suicide because they didn't know, they were not aware. And in our community or in our society, we think R1 million is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of pensioners celebrating that amount, but they only realize that this is nothing after it actually reaches their bank account, and then they have to pay the things that they have to pay. So yes, it is. So I believe, that is why I believe that if people can be educated, even if you are left with 5 years before your retirement, if you can get the correct education, you can be able to maneuver around these 5 years so that when you retire and you get to enjoy your pension.
You mentioned that people are entangled in debt. What causes that?
Oh, there's a lot of things that cause people to be stuck in debt, Charles. I've written it on this book. So the first one is we lack patience. As people, we don't have patience. The moment you start being employed, then you all of a sudden you start planning big, and You are not planning big with what you have. You are planning big with someone else's money, which is the bank. You have a bank statement, you have a pay slip, and you're already thinking, okay, I'm going to go and take a loan so that I build a home. I'm going to take a loan so that I drive a car. And again, the pressure our community and our society gives the people who start to work, you know. When you start to work, if you're coming from a rural home or a home where people were struggling, you hear people start to say, okay, now that you are working, you are going to build a house for your mother, you're going to do this. So people get a lot of pressure from the society, and they think they don't have a choice. They don't give themselves time to actually see what this salary can actually do for them. And then there's psychological reasons, which is what I talk about, the wounds, you know. There's your childhood trauma, there's your ancestral wound. I talk about the peer pressure. You know, when we grow up as children, you know, we grow up from different backgrounds, and whatever background that you grow from, it's actually what you are engraving from your subconscious mind to actually live that kind of life. So if you grew up, like I'll take, for example, with my story, I grew up from a family where we were kind of struggling, and we would have things for 2 weeks, and then the rest of the other 2 weeks we live from borrowing, you know. So when I grow up, I took that trend. It was like all now became a cycle to me. I started working. I would have things for 2 weeks. I would have money for 2 weeks. Now, when I was growing up, it was food, but when I'm now old with my own money, I would have money for 2 weeks. So now the subconscious mind is actually playing what was happening while I was growing up, but I was not aware of that. So now that was a wound that I needed to heal. Then there's also, again, the ancestral wound. You know, we grow up, we are children of our grandfathers and our forefathers, and they had their own things. So it is said, when we take out the front line in our families, we take whatever they were doing. So you would hear a person saying, you look like someone, you look like your grandmother, you've got your grandmother's traits and all of that. Then they had their own ways of doing things, which they were borrowing money, they were doing this and they were doing that. We take that too. So it is up to us as the people, as the generation that is living now, to say, you know what, yes, I do acknowledge the fact that I am from this family who has this behavior, but now I'm choosing to change this behavior because it's no longer serving me. So the moment you notice that something is no longer serving you, like living in debt over and over again, it is up to you as a person to decide that, you know what, I'm changing this now. I'm creating a new generation for myself, my kids, and my grandkids.
Well, viewers out there, the future is in your hands. You have got power of choice. You have got power to control your own circumstances around you. You know, she has said it very loud and clear that when we start working, the peer pressure, community pressures, makes us get into debt. This is uncalled for. This is unnecessary. Exercise a bit of patience before you buy that car. Exercise a bit of patience before you buy that house. In fact, how about buying it cash? More after the break.
Join Marketplace with Charles on an 11-day tour of the Holy Land. Take the route Israel traveled to the Promised Land. Cross over the Red Sea and float on the Dead Seas, the lowest point on earth with amazing healing properties. Experience the vibe of Jericho and cruise on the Sea of Galilee to Capernaum, the hometown of Jesus. Visit the pools of Bethesda, Nazareth, Bethlehem, and many more. Walk where Jesus walked and see the Bible come alive. If beautiful memories and an enriched spirit is what you are looking for, then join us in taking Jesus to the marketplace. For more information, call us on +27 72 123 0078 or email israel@artofskincare.co.za.
Welcome back to Marketplace with Charles. I am still sitting here with my lovely guest, Phelisa. And I know beyond a shadow of doubt that this episode will transform your financial situation. Well, Phelisa, in your book, you talk about good debt and bad debt. What is good debt and what is bad debt?
You know, in this book, I talk about good and bad debt in a totally different way as people would identify good debt. You know, when we were growing up, I was told that buying a house is a good debt. I was told that securing a student loan is a good debt. But I view good and bad debt with intentions. And if your intentions to be in debt are for your own good, are for you to be profitable or to start a business that is going to be profitable, that would be a good debt. So you can actually say, Charles, you know, I'm buying a car and I want to use it as an Uber, and someone else who's looking out there is like, why is he buying a car? He hasn't built a home, he hasn't done this thing, their kids are not educated and all of that. And you as Charles, you know that I'm taking this debt so that I grow myself, you know. And for someone else who's looking out there, they're thinking otherwise. So your good debt cannot be my good debt. Your bad debt cannot be my bad debt. I can have a bad debt that you view it as bad, but it's good to me because it's helping me. It's helping me prosper. It's helping me grow. Someone else would think, okay, you haven't built your home. You're still living in a shack, but you are driving a car. And yet your car is helping you to go to work, to be a good employee, to you know. So my way of looking at good and bad debt is basically by your intentions and, you know, your feelings. How does this debt make you feel? If it makes you feel uneasy, it makes you don't sleep at night, you know, you quite not settled with it. A person would buy a house because everyone is saying buying a house is a good thing, but buying a house for renting it out is a good thing. Buying a house to live in it when you are paying like 8,000, 9,000 rent and you've got about 3 bedrooms that are not occupied just because you're maintaining a standard. People are saying you should have a house, and that house, it still needs to be maintained. It still needs electricity. It still needs a whole lot of other things, you know, to be maintained in that state that it is. But you can actually go and rent 2,500 rand and you are saving about 8,000 rand on the installment that you are paying. So it's basically about you as a person, you only, not the society, not everyone, not what other people think, you know. That's how I view it. That's how I explain good and bad debt. It's basically about the intentions and if this debt is serving you to prosper, not to take away from you.
You know, what I realize in life is that a watch that cost 300 rands and a Rolex watch that cost 80,000 rands, both of them, they tell of the same time. If it's 3 o'clock, it will be 3 o'clock on a 300 rand watch. It will also be 3 o'clock on an 80,000 rands watch. A car, simple car, basic car, worth 150,000 rand brand new, and the most expensive car, worth 7 million rand. Both of them, if you drive at 120 kilometers per an hour, will arrive at the same destination, same time. The most expensive gin and the cheapest gin, if you check the label, both of them made in China. And for that matter, you can have the most expensive stuff bought from a boutique. If they're not well ironed, they're not cleaned, they will look shabby than the cheapest stuff that you bought from Pep stores, but well ironed and fit you well.
Yes.
Will I be correct to assume that?
Yes, you are correct. It's about choices. And at the end of the day, if your choices are serving you and they are not making you uncomfortable and the people around you uncomfortable. When I say people around you uncomfortable, so if you decide to buy a Rolex watch because you can afford it and your bank balance allows you, then it shouldn't be a problem, child's problem that you don't have food. It shouldn't be your kids' problem that they cannot go to school because now you cannot afford school fees because you have this watch. Now you had to buy this watch for 80,000 rand and you are responding to peer pressure. If you can afford the 80,000 rand watch and you still can do everything that needs to be done, you know, the basic things that need to be done, providing for the family, providing for yourself and all of those things, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it's not, you haven't gone to the bank and borrowed money so that you can buy, because if you have borrowed money, you obviously cannot afford that watch. So it's very important to look at that, you know, living within your means. So if your means are within the 80,000 rand watch, it's okay. It's your life. We cannot detect what you can do. But if you are pushing, you are earning 10,000 rand and you want to buy an 80,000 rand watch, now you need to look at that, because life is not only about today only, you know, there's future and you don't know what is going to happen in future. We can see the current situation. A lot of people who thought they had guaranteed jobs, they might have taken loans because they thought they had guaranteed jobs. Now they lost their jobs because of something that we didn't even think. We all thought that everyone was going to lose their jobs due to 4IR, but people lost their jobs due to COVID, and we were not yet ready for these things, for this pandemic. So if you cannot afford it, and it needs you to go sit with and negotiate with someone else so that they can give you money for you to buy it, then you cannot afford that. Try and look at the ways on how you can actually find it and get something else. Go for the cheaper one. Go for the one that you can actually afford. That's what I mean by say living within your means. So there is saying, I want to come out of debt and doing nothing about it. And then there is, I want to come out of debt and you are ready to take action. So when you are ready to take action, obviously there are going to be things that you will need to compromise. You will need to compromise certain lifestyles. If you were a person who were spending maybe 5,000 rand on holidays, maybe you want to first look at that, cut down on your expenses and cut down on the holidays. You know, you can live without a holiday. You can survive. You know, if you have a home, you can survive without a holiday. So you need to first look at that, see how you can cut down on your expenses, and then look at your debt. I do debt payment plan where we can actually accelerate your payment plans on your installments and all of that. Then we look at your balances, obviously. So we've got two choices. It's either you start with the balances that's got the lowest amount or with the ones that got the highest interest. We obviously look at the terms. I'd say, for example, if you have a one that's got highest interest but it's got a longer term, and you've got the one that's got the lowest interest that has a shorter term that's going to be paid out maybe in December, we'll say, okay, let's start with that, and then we pay it off. And when you have done paying off that certain installment, let's just say it's a shop or a retail shop, then we don't celebrate. We don't say, oh yeah, we've freed now this 250, let's use it. We take that money and put it and add it to something else, you know, put it to something else and put it to something else until everything is paid. We call that a snowball payment, where you just, if you are paying like what, 7,000 rand total of your installment, you don't stop paying 7,000 rand until everything is paid off. So that is that's the easiest way.
So you said the first step is to downsize your lifestyle.
If you have to, yes.
To a better option.
To a better option, yes.
Because downsizing does not necessarily mean that you're downsizing to something bad.
Yes, because it's not going to last. If it's painful to you, like for example, you're saying you're downsizing, you're selling a car, but you're still going to need a car, it's not going to last. 2 months down the line, you're going to be like, you know what, I was actually surviving while I had my car, and then you go back again. So the best way is to say, okay, I'm driving a Mercedes, let me rather go for a smaller car, Picanto, whatever that you can afford, and that's still going to do the same job. In that way, it's going to be meaningful to you, because if you say you cut down everything, it's going to be painful, and you don't want to be living a painful life. Once it gets painful, you are most likely to go back and go even bigger and make the worst decisions, because now the decision that you are making is driven by the emotions. You find someone like saying, why am I why am I doing this to myself? Why am I punishing myself? It shouldn't be a punishment. You know, when you downsize, it shouldn't be a punishment. It should be an option that you are saying, I'm going for this option because this is what I want to achieve, and your achievement should be bigger than you downsizing. So you won't feel it if you do it like that.
Your parting thoughts to the viewers? You
know what, Charles, I always say planning is the key. You know, there is absolutely nothing wrong with holidays. In my family, we have holidays. Okay, now because of the COVID, we do holidays twice a year. We go for mid-holiday and the end of the year, but we plan for it. It's part of the plan. It's not something that you wake up and decide, you know what, I'm going on a holiday. So if you are financially mindful about your finances, it's easy for you to say, you know what, I'm putting this amount of money every month because I want to go on holiday. I want to have fun. So we can't run away these days. If I take my kids to their grandparents, they don't view it as a holiday. They look at that and they were like, no, mama is taking us to, rural areas. So they don't view it as a holiday. So I also want to go on holiday, have fun, and, just relax a bit. So the most important thing is I must plan for it. I must not go to a holiday that I cannot afford. I must not go and stay in a very expensive hotel that I cannot afford. And I cannot just wake up today and be like, boom, I'm going on a holiday, yet my bank balance is not allowing me, and I decide, you know what, I'm going to take a loan so that I go on holiday. Then that is not worth it anymore. It's no longer necessary. But if you plan for it and accommodate it and, make it fun, so that it does, I'm always saying it shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't be while everyone else is looking at your pictures, liking and congratulating you, and you at night are not sleeping because you are thinking a debit order is going to come out and taking out that, So it should always be planned.
No, great. Tell me, if people need a copy of your book and need to interact with you for some more, how would they do that?
Okay, my copy, it's available. I've got a website. It's phelisamafunda.co.za. You can also contact me on my WhatsApp, which is 074 9311 000. My social media as well, Phelisa Mafunda. All my social media, it's Facebook, Phelisa Mafunda, Instagram, Phelisa Mafunda, LinkedIn is also Phelisa Mafunda. I also have a copy on Amazon, so you can also get an ebook. Just go to Amazon and just search Healing the Wounds of Debt. It's there, you will find it.
Well, viewers, that's all the time we had. You can have debt, but only have the debt that you can afford. Have debt in such a way that when it rains, you don't drown yourself in debt. I am Charles Ngobeni signing off on Marketplace with Charles. You can get hold of me on all forms of social media. God bless you. See you next time, same place.